Hello all, Ace here, and today's video is about Starfield, which I'm sure you could tell because you clicked on the video. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe. You're thinking, how are you going to hate on something that's not even out yet? Well, because I'm just built different. And that entitles me, the person making this video, to hate on whatever I see fit. That being said, I want to remind you, this isn't coming from a place of hate. It's coming from a place of love. I love Bethesda games. I have put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into them across many different games. I criticize this because I love this, and I am absolutely hyped for Starfield. I have been waiting for this game for years at this point. So, if you really don't like me criticizing them or hating on something, don't feel like you need to comment. You don't. I don't need to hear the same comment again about how if I don't like something, I don't have to use it. It's part of a video game. I get that. I have a functioning brain. Sometimes. That being said, if you want to leave other comments, like suggestions or questions, or even, just any fact you may know, it does not have to relate to this video in the slightest. Feel free to do so. I will maybe read it. Probably. Now, let's get into the video and let's get the hate train rolling. Now, after this video, you guys are going to see a whole slew of content related to Starfield on my channel. I'm talking daily videos coming out about Starfield and Starfield facts, and me hypothesizing on the same Starfield stuff that we've seen for the past 3 weeks. All being said, though, I really do appreciate the people that put out those content videos because I am way too lazy to do that, and I eat that shit up pretty regularly, right? So, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring here, and we're going to go and start this video. And on the chopping block is the Eon from Starfield. Before I get started with the hating, I actually want to talk about one thing I really like, which is the ammo. Now, the ammo is 7.77 by 37 millimeter caseless, which is really futuristic, which is really fucking cool. We don't have a lot of guns that fire caseless ammunition. A good example is the G11. Go look it up. I'm not going to waste more time on it because it's a topic I could talk about forever. But it's really cool. Kind of a shame it didn't take off. That being said, 7.77 by 37 millimeter caseless almost reminds me of 5.7 by 28 millimeter rounds, which are a caliber of round designed for light armor penetration by FN for the P90 and the FN57. And I feel like this could be like a souped up cartridge made for defeating spacesuits, right? Or penetrating spacesuits in the armor of that. And I think if they do go in that direction of it, where it's like this ammo cartridge that's sold as the spacer's best friend because it'll stop anything in a spacesuit trying to kill you, right? Like pirates or whatnot. That would be awesome. Now, I've criticized Star Citizen, rightfully so, for the fact that its ballistic ammo choices suck ass, right? They use 5.56, 9mm, 10mm, shit like that. This is a futuristic round. This is awesome. I would love to see more of this. Way more of this in futuristic games, space games, right? This is what I think we should be moving towards with space cartridges at the very least, right? Now, unfortunately, we are out of positives, so we're going to start getting into the negatives. And the first negative is the overall appearance of the gun. Now, I was really hoping that the flagship gun for Starfield would be cool looking, but instead we got something on the same train of thought as the 10mm pistol, except this resembles more like a USP that got hit in the face with a frying pan, kind of like what happened to a pug. Uh, think of it as taking a USP and taking a pug and combining them, and then you've got this fucking monstrosity. It has more in common with a little goblin imp from The Hobbit than it does with a cool looking functional firearm. It also is the second Bethesda game in a row that has a fucking gross, lobotomized, blocky, ugly, fucking weird looking handgun as its flagship handgun, right? We had the 10mm from Fallout 4, which looked gross stock. Then there was the 10mm from Fallout 76, which they just added on the fucking chunky underbelly to it as part of the stock gun, which isn't great. And now we have Starfield and the Eon. Now, that being said, I'm not offended by a compact handgun, right? I think it could be really cool to just have your flagship weapon be a little compact pistol. I think that would be good. And they were almost there, except for the fact that the Eon has a fucking block under it. It's like they stacked on some Duplos underneath the gun, and they were like, it's good enough. Now, I don't know if it's because they love the blocky look of the 10mm pistol so much, but I don't know what it is, right? I don't know if it is a flashlight, because it does have like an electrical symbol on there. But if it is a flashlight, why is it integral to the gun, right? You can't get rid of that without removing any of the frame. So if I want to take that off, I'd have to change the frame, which is bad, right? So maybe it's a counterweight, right? But if you need a counterweight to help with the recoil from your standard ammunition in that gun, then it's just poorly designed, right? That's like making a little tiny pistol that fires 44 Magnum, but because of the recoil and the light pistol frame, you have to put like a brick on the front of it to help you control it, right? That's just really bad design. So then maybe it's a taser, right? That could be something, but it's not really like Bethesda to have multi-weapon functionality, right? We didn't get underbarrel grenade launchers or underbarrel shotguns or anything like that in Fallout 4, so I would assume we're not getting anything like that in here. It's not out of the question totally, but I'm gonna say probably not. So, it just has a fucking brick on it. And it kind of just defeats the purpose of it being a smaller, more compact handgun, and it is listed as a small handgun. I don't know if that's just because it's a small handgun, or if that's a classification, right, of small handgun and there will be other guns that are bigger than it, classified as a small handgun. That being said, I don't think it's well designed. It reminds me of what I drew in my notebook in the second grade, except my shit was way better, and I was in the second grade. And my art has not improved very much over the course of my life. Not drawing, anyway. And that's saying something. I'm going to refer to it from this point on as the brick. Not the brick under the gun, but just the gun as a whole, because it reminds me of a brick. Other than the brick, the grip looks kind of uncomfortable. It doesn't look awful, it just looks uncomfortable. It's not poorly sized, the sizing is okay. It's not poorly textured, the texturing is okay, but it's just uncomfortable, honestly. It reminds me kind of like a Glock grip, but like some of the worst Glock grips. If you are a Glock sucker and any criticism of Glock offends you, please cry in my comments about it. I feast on your tears. That being said, the brick almost overall has the look of trying to be sci-fi, where it will compromise the design of the gun to make it look more futuristic, and that's kind of what I'm getting here, where it's almost over-engineered. If you look at the gun, it has some parts that round off weirdly. It has some parts that are just sharp, right? And in the real world, we do have guns that are round and sharp, and we have guns that are really round, and we have guns that are really sharp, right? Like a really sharp gun, Glock, very blocky, right? A round and sharp gun is like a 1911 is round in some places and sharper in others, right? And you've got like your little Walther PPKs, right? Those are pretty round overall. But I'm going to compare it to the 1911. The 1911 is not a futuristic gun in any way, shape, or form, but it's important to remember that humans don't design something because it's futuristic. Humans design something for what they need. If you're designing it to be round in weird spots, it has to have a reason for it, and I can't think of any reason for that, right? It isn't for the weight of it. It shouldn't be for any practical usage of the gun, because it would just make sense to round more things off. So you'll have parts that just go and tuck in because they're rounded, and other parts that won't tuck in because they're squared off and they meet, and it just looks really weird and really ugly. I don't get it, right? Like Halo's Magnum is kind of futuristic, but still very almost modern. They didn't compromise the look of it or over-engineer it to make it look super futuristic. It looks like it could be something we make in a couple years as a combat handgun, right? But this just looks like they tried a little too hard, or it was made by a 7-year-old of someone high up in Bethesda, right? And they just couldn't say no, so now it's the flagship gun. Either way, I'm not sure, because you can go really futuristic with guns, but if you're doing that, you gotta remember, it's probably not gonna look a lot like a gun. Like how some of the phasers from Star Trek look like, those don't really look like a gun. They look like they're gonna fucking check your temperature before you go into a restaurant so you don't spread the unnamed virus of unknown origin around, you know? And this is just caught in the worst place of that equation. It's just really not it's not awful by any means. It's close, but instead of going and getting over the finish line properly, they fucked it in the worst way. I actually like how it fires. It looks cool when it's firing, and I like the ammo type, but just overall, the design isn't there. It had something, right? It could have been really cool, and they really fucked it up. Overall, it's a couple sandwiches and maybe a blanket short of a picnic. I'm gonna go and give it like 3.5 out of 10. Mainly because it has durability that's better than that of a gummed peach gummy ring by like some old geezer, right? It's not gonna turn my fingers into mush or turn to mush in my fingers, right? My fingers won't be confetti, which I like. The pipe gun, another story. But this, I think I would be able to actually use. It just looks kind of weird, right? Which is not always a bad thing, but in this case, it is. Now, I know a 3.5 for Bethesda is really high, but honestly, I think some of the other guns are much better, and I might make a collection of videos, or maybe just one video compiling all of the guns I really like in this game, and I'll come back for the other ones that I don't like. Now, other than that, I will see you guys after my next hibernation, and maybe another video before Starfield comes out. Sure as shit not after. You guys won't see me for several months. That being said, I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you like me shitting on this gun. I could do this all day. And I hope you guys will stick around by subscribing. Maybe drop me a like. Like I said before, comment something. Doesn't have to be related to the video. I will read it. I'm gonna push back the laser gun. Again, you guys know how this goes. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you watch some of my other videos. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.